On moving day, my stepsister Avery 44F pulled the most manipulative stunt I've ever seen. She twisted family emotions, played the victim card, and even tried to pit us against each other over boxes of stuff that weren't even hers. What was supposed to be a fresh start turned into a full-blown showdown with long-held grudges exploding in the worst way. So, I'll try to keep this short, though honestly, there's no way it will be. A couple months ago, my dad and stepmom sold their house and decided to downsize into a condo. It was supposed to be a smooth moving day, boxes, pizza, and just getting it done. But of course, Avery, my 44-year-old stepsister, had to turn it into a full-on circus. Here's the setup: Dad 68M, my stepmom Linda 63F, my younger brother Matt 36M, and me 38F. Everyone's been trying to keep things civil because Avery has, let's just say, a history of making things about her. She's the type who can turn past assault into a personal attack. Anyway, moving day starts around 9 AM. We're hauling boxes into the moving truck, taping stuff shut, swelling, all that. I notice Avery isn't really lifting anything heavy. Instead, she's hovering around Linda, whispering to her constantly. At first, I thought she was just making conversation, but then I heard her say, "Mom, you don't really trust them with your china, do you? You know they'll just throw it in with the junk." I froze. She meant me and Matt. Like we're careless teenagers, not full-grown adults literally doing all the grunt work. Linda looked flustered, and I could see her second-guessing herself. I pulled Matt aside and said, "Did you hear that? She's planting doubts." He rolled his eyes, muttering, "Classic Avery." The thing is, Avery's had this chip on her shoulder for years, ever since Linda married my dad. She's always acted like we were intruding on her family, even though we've been around for decades now. On moving day, that grudge came boiling up. My new intentions were getting thicker. Avery started telling me what to do with my own dead stuff. Like, "You should probably let me handle the antique desk. Dad always trusted me with the valuable things." I snapped back, funny, because Dad asked me to carry it. Dad overheard, frowned, and told Avery to help with the kitchen instead. That's when she pulled out the tears. "Oh, so you don't value my opinion, after everything I've done to keep this family together?" She said this in the middle of the driveway, loud enough for the neighbours to hear. I kid you not, Matt dropped his box and muttered, "Here we go." The manipulation was so obvious it was almost comical, but it worked on Linda. She started siding with Avery, asking us to be more gentle and listen to her ideas. Meanwhile, Avery still hadn't lifted a single box. At that point, it stopped being about moving and became about every buried resentment in the family. And that was only the beginning. By early afternoon, the move was at a crawl. Matt and I were sweating buckets, actually hauling furniture, while Avery fluttered around like some kind of a supervisor. She kept inserting herself into every decision where to pack things, how to label boxes, even which tape we should use. At one point, she literally pulled the Sharpie out of my hand and said, "No, I'll label that. You're not consistent enough." I just stared at her, like, "Are you serious right now?" But she wrote Avery's special items across a box that wasn't even hers, it was my dad's old record collection. When I called her out, she turned it into this massive drama. "Wow, so now I can't even protect Dad's things. You two always treated me like the outsider, like I don't have a voice in this family." Matt stepped in with his usual bluntness. "Avery, you are the outsider when you keep trying to manipulate everyone." The second he said that, Linda gasped like he'd slapped her. "Don't talk to your sister that way," she snapped. And just like that, the whole dynamic shifted. Avery was suddenly the victim, and Matt and I were the villains. Dad tried to mediate. He put his hand up and said, "Enough. We're just trying to move, not rehash 30 years of grudges." But it was too late. Avery had her hook in. She started spinning this narrative about how we never included her when we were growing up, how she always felt like we looked down on her. Some of it was true, we weren't super close, mostly because she spent every holiday stirring up drama. But the way she told it, you'd think we'd been actively bullying her our entire lives. Then she dropped the bomb. She looked straight at me and said, "I know you always hated that Dad married my mom, you never forgave her for stealing him." I swear my jaw hit the pavement. "Excuse me, your mom married my dad," and I was thrilled, actually, because he was finally happy again after Mom passed. But she just tilted her head and gave me that smug look, like she'd scored a point. "See, you can't even admit your resentment." Meanwhile, poor Dad was standing there with a box of dishes in his hands, looking like he wanted to disappear. At one point, Avery even pulled Linda aside and whispered something, and then Linda came back saying, "Maybe we should take a break, the kids are getting hostile." The kids. We're in our 30s and 40s. Matt lost it. He slammed the moving truck door and said, "If Avery doesn't pick up a single box today, I'm done." And that's when Avery smirked and said, "Fine, leave, that just proves my point." I could feel the manipulation thick in the air, like she was twisting every word, every action, to fit her story. And honestly, it was working on Linda. The move wasn't just falling apart logistically, it was tearing at the family scenes. And then things really blew up over one particular box. So, the infamous box. It started innocently enough, just a medium-sized cardboard labelled "Fragile Family Photos." But Avery zeroed in on it like a predator. "Wait, that's mine, right?" she said, giving me this fake innocent look. I raised an eyebrow. "No, Avery, that's Dad's old photo albums. They've been in the attic for decades. You didn't even grow up in this house." She laughed, and not a real laugh, more like one of those calculated, teasing laughs. "Oh, come on. I helped pick some of these photos out. I have a right to them too." I could feel my patience snapping. Avery, you weren't in any of these pictures. You weren't even part of these memories. Step back. Matt had had enough by this point. He grabbed the box from her hands. Back off, Avery. You're manipulating this entire move for attention. Avery gasped, clutching her chest like wheat. Her emotionally. How dare you? You two are literally the worst. You don't care about anyone but yourselves. She stomped away toward the living room. Dad tried to intervene, saying, Avery, enough. This isn't about her or him, it's about moving day. We need to focus. But she wasn't done. Not even close. Avery started pulling out old letters from the box, holding them up dramatically. See this? I should have had these. Everyone always left me out. You never let me be part of the family. I couldn't hold back. I snapped. Avery, this isn't about inclusion. You've been manipulating everyone for years. You're twisting events, making people doubt their own memories. Enough. She froze, like she hadn't expected anyone to actually call her out. Linda, however, looked torn. You could see her heart was in the right place, but Avery's words had poisoned her mind. And the bombshell dropped. Matt found a small envelope tucked under one of the photo albums, a note from Dad that clearly wasn't meant for Avery. It detailed a list of items Avery had lost or broken over the years, a record of all her manipulations and petty schemes. He read it aloud. Avery has repeatedly taken things that weren't hers, tried to make others feel guilty, and manipulated family situations to her advantage. Avery's face went white. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. That's not fair. I was trying to help. I stepped forward, trying to stay calm. Help! You've been twisting everything to make it about you. This isn't a game. This is our family, and you've been playing with it for decades. Tension in the room was so thick I could feel it pressing down on my shoulders. Avery finally dropped the box and slumped into a chair, realizing for the first time that her manipulations had been exposed and there was no one left to side with her. For the first time that day, silence fell. The kind of silence that feels heavy but also like relief is finally possible. After the note incident, the house felt different. Like the air had been cleared, but at the cost of some unspoken tension. Avery sat slouched in the armchair, arms crossed, glaring at the floor. Dad leaned against the doorway, exhausted but relieved, and Linda was still processing everything. Matt and I exchanged a look of part victory, part worry. I approached Avery cautiously. Look, I know this is humiliating, but it's not about shaming you. It's about finally being honest about what's been going on for years. She didn't look up. You don't get it. You never understood me. You think everything I did was wrong, but I was trying to, I don't know, keep the family together. I blinked, taken aback. Avery, by manipulating us, by twisting everyone's words and creating fake dramas, that's not keeping anyone together. That's tearing people apart. Matt chimed in, softer than usual. Yeah, we love you, Avery, but this has to stop. We can't keep tiptoeing around your schemes at every family event. It's exhausting. For a few moments, she just sat there, silent. I could see the fight leaving her. I think, for the first time in decades, Avery realized she couldn't control the narrative anymore. Dad finally spoke. Moving day is stressful for everyone, but honesty and accountability, that's how we stay a family. Avery, we love you, but the manipulations have to stop if you want to be part of this. Avery's eyes welled up, and she muttered, almost to herself, I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I just wanted to be seen. Linda, finally stepping closer, placed a hand on Avery's shoulder. You are seen, Avery, but being seen doesn't give you the right to twist things or make others feel small. We want to start fresh, but that means leaving the old grudges behind. It was quiet for a while, just the hum of the moving truck idling outside and the occasional shuffle of boxes. Then, finally, Avery let out a deep breath. Okay, I'll try. I really will. I nodded. We'll help, but it has to be a real effort, not just words. Matt helped Avery up, and she actually picked up a box herself for the first time all day she truly participated. It was awkward at first, but slowly she started helping with the smaller items. Dad smiled faintly. It's a start. Moving day isn't just about boxes, it's about new beginnings. Let's treat this as one. I realized then that maybe this day, the day I dreaded for weeks, had finally turned into something more than just chaos. It had exposed years of buried resentment, yes, but it also opened the door for real change. The rest of the afternoon was quieter. Avery still had that nervous energy, that need to be watched, but at least she was participating without manipulation. Matt and I even joked while carrying boxes, and Dad laughed along. It wasn't perfect. I know Avery's old habits won't disappear overnight, but for the first time, I felt like there was hope that the family could actually move forward and not just with boxes, but with honesty and boundaries finally in place. And as the sun started setting, we all took a moment to look at the almost empty house, realizing that the real work wasn't left in furniture, it was left in the weight of decades of hidden grudges. By the next morning, the chaos of moving day had mostly settled. The moving truck was nearly empty, the boxes stacked neatly in the new condo, and the furniture arranged more or less where it needed to go. But there was still this lingering tension of the kind that doesn't vanish just because the heavy lifting is done. Avery was quieter than usual. She hovered in the kitchen while Dad unpacked dishes, carefully putting plates and glasses in the cabinets. I could tell she was replaying the previous day's confrontation over and over in her mind. I decided it was time for a little heart-to-heart. Avery, can we talk for a minute? She looked up, eyes wary. Oh, sure. I gestured for her to sit at the small breakfast table. Look, yesterday got messy, but I want to be clear, we're not against you. We just can't let the manipulation continue. If you want to be part of this family, we need honesty, not games. She sighed, running a hand through her hair. I know, I feel invisible sometimes, like no matter what I do, I'm always the problem. Matt walked in mid-conversation, carrying a box labeled miscellaneous. Avery, you're not invisible. You're part of this family, but part of being seen is taking responsibility. Yesterday was a lot, but it could have been worse. We can move forward if you actually try. Her shoulders slumped, a mix of relief and embarrassment. Okay, I get it. I'll try, really try. Dad, overhearing, added, it's about boundaries too. You'll have your opinions, your space, but you can't control everyone's feelings or actions. That's not family, that's drama. Avery nodded, finally understanding the hard truth. I guess I didn't realize how much I was doing that. The next few hours were a slow but steady test of her commitment. She helped organize the living room, label boxes correctly without argument, and even carried a couple of the heavier ones herself. Not perfectly, but enough to show she wanted to contribute rather than manipulate. Linda came over with a cup of coffee. It's like a different energy in here. I think everyone's finally catching a breath. I smiled. Yeah, feels like a new beginning, even if it's messy. Avery gave a small, almost shy smile in return. Thanks for giving me a chance. I nodded. We all deserve chances, but we also deserve honesty, and that includes you. By the time the last box was unloaded, there was a sense of accomplishment, not just for the move itself, but for the invisible walls that had been lifted. The grudges, the manipulations, they weren't gone, but they were exposed, acknowledged, and for the first time addressed. I realized that family dynamics are messy. Moving day was just the catalyst for everything that had been simmering for decades. And while Avery still had work to do, it felt like the first real step toward trust, accountability, and maybe a family that could move forward together without letting old grudges define us. By the evening, the condo finally looked like a home. Boxes were unpacked, furniture arranged, and even a few decorative touches in place. The atmosphere was calmer, the tension from moving day had faded, replaced by a tentative sense of relief. Avery surprised us all. Instead of hovering or making passive-aggressive comments, she actually pitched in. She set up the bookshelf in the living room, carefully arranging Dad's old books while humming a soft tune. Matt and I exchanged a look as she was actually helping without drama. I decided to address it head-on. Avery, I just want to say thank you. Today has been different, and I appreciate that. She looked up, slightly embarrassed. I know I messed up yesterday. I just didn't realize how far my manipulations went. I want to do better. Linda, smiling, added, I will support you, but remember, respect and honesty have to be consistent, not just where it's convenient. Dad nodded, placing a hand on Avery's shoulder. We're family. We fight, we argue, we make mistakes, but the key is how we respond. Yesterday was a wake-up call. Today this is a step forward. Avery swallowed, clearly emotional. I don't want to be the person who always causes chaos. I really don't. I want to feel like I belong without twisting things to my favor. Matt smirked, teasing lightly. Look at you, admitting stuff without a drama scene. You're evolving, little sis. She laughed softly, shaking her head. Little sis, how feels weird calling myself that now. We all laughed, the tension finally breaking. It was the first genuine family laughter we'd shared in what felt like years, and not forced, not cautious, just authentic. After a quick dinner, Avery even offered to help clean up the moving boxes. She worked alongside us without complaint, and for the first time, it felt like she was contributing rather than controlling. Later, as the night settled, Dad and I were in the kitchen, quietly talking. You think she'll actually change? I asked. Dad sighed, thoughtful. She can. She's always had this need to be seen and heard, but now she knows she doesn't have to manipulate to get it. It'll take time, but yesterday was the wake-up call she needed. I nodded, glancing toward the living room where Avery was carefully placing old family photos on a shelf. She looked peaceful, almost reflective. I realized that moving day, chaotic, messy, and full of manipulation, had actually become a turning point. It wasn't perfect. There were still scars, old grudges, and habits that wouldn't disappear overnight. But for the first time, it felt like Avery might truly take responsibility and finally become the stepsister who could be a part of the family without pulling strings behind the scenes. And that was a relief. The next morning, the condo felt like a different place. The sun streamed through the windows, lighting up boxes that were now unpacked in rooms that finally felt like home. Avery was already moving around, tidying up small things without being asked. It was almost surreal the manipulative, drama-prone stepsister we'd known for decades was actually participating calmly. I found her in the living room, arranging some old family photos on the new mantel. They look nice, I said quietly, not wanting to disturb her too much. She looked up, smiling faintly. Thanks, I wanted to do this right finally. I nodded. Yesterday was intense, but I think we all needed that. Boundaries, honesty, it was overdue. Avery sighed, sitting down on the couch. I know I've been difficult. I've held grudges, twisted situations, it's been exhausting. I never realized how much damage I caused. Matt wandered in with his coffee mug, grinning. Yeah, well, better late than never, right? Just don't think you can charm your way out of everything anymore. She laughed softly, a little embarrassed. No promises, but I'll try, really. Dad joined us, sitting in the armchair, looking relaxed for the first time in days. Family isn't perfect, he said. We argue, we make mistakes, we let grudges fester, but the fact that we're here, talking and laughing and actually being together, that's what matters. Linda poured herself a cup of coffee and added, Avery, I hope you understand now you don't need to manipulate anyone to be part of this family, you're already included. All we ask is honesty and respect. Avery's eyes welled up slightly, but this time, there were no theatrics. I get it, I really do. I want to change. I don't want to be the stepsister everyone dreads anymore. I realized then that moving day wasn't just about boxes and furniture. It had been a microcosm of years of hidden resentment, manipulation, and long-held grudges. But it had also become a turning point, a chance for us all to see the truth, confront it, and take the first steps toward rebuilding trust. We spent the rest of the day unpacking together. Avery carried boxes, arranged furniture, and even made a few jokes that got real laughs from all of us. The energy in the condo was lighter, warmer, a far cry from the tension that had hung over the family for decades. By evening, as we sat around the living room, exhausted but content, I felt a strange sense of closure. Avery wasn't perfect. She had a lot to work on. But she had taken responsibility, faced the consequences of her actions, and was actively trying to change. For the first time, it felt like the family could truly move forward. No more hidden grudges, no more manipulations, just honesty, boundaries, and a cautious hope that we could finally enjoy being together without the past constantly pulling us apart. And that, honestly, felt like the biggest win of all.